This is page 1 of the Chapter 6 test review for Algebra 2. For numbers 1 through 7, directions say to simplify. So we want to see if there are any perfect square factors underneath that radical. And I know that 24 factors to 4 times 6. And so the square root of 4 is 2. The square root of u squared is u. 6 stays under the radical, and v stays under the radical. For number 3, we wanted the third root of 750, x to the first, y to the 6th. So I need to get the prime factorization of 750. 750 is even, so I know that 2 goes in there 375 times. 5 goes in there 75 times. And that's 3 times 25, which is 5 and 5. So we need a cube root. So we need 3 5s. So one of those is going to come out from under the cube root. And the 2 and the 3 don't have 2 other factors. So 2 times 3 is 6. That stays under the cube root. The y to the 6th is y to the third times y to the third. So y to the second should come out. I didn't leave myself enough room. I'll squeeze it right in here. So it should be 5y squared. The x to the first has to stay under. So let me rewrite that nicely. 5y squared cube root of 6x. Number 5, we have the square root of 6 over 9 times the square root of 5. So we need to simplify this, and we can't end up with a radical in the denominator. That means I need to multiply by the square root of 5 over the square root of 5 so that I won't have a radical. So the square root of 6 times the square root of 5 is the square root of 30. And in the denominator, I have 9 square roots of 5 times the square root of 5, so 9 square roots of 25. And the square root of 25 is 5, so 9 times 5 is 45. And the square root of 30, do we have any perfect square factors? No, we do not, so we just leave it under there. All right, number 7. We have the square root of negative 32. If we were in Algebra 1, we'd say no real solution because we can't have a negative under the radical, but we know that the imaginary number will get us the square root of negative 1 times the square root of 32, and square root of 32 is 4 times 8, so the square root of 4. 16 will go in there. 16 and 2 will get us to 32. So we've got I from here, we've got 4 from here, and square roots of 2. All right, jumping down to number 8. So it doesn't look like we can combine these because they're not like terms, but the directions say to simplify. So we know, possibly we can factor out something. And I noticed that 9 is a factor of 27. So I'm going to pull out a 3. So 3 times 3 is 9. This 3 stays under the radical, so I have 9 rad 3. And 12 is going to be 4 times 3. Square root of 4 is 2, and the 3 stays under. So 9 rad 3 minus 2 rad 3. Now we can combine them because now they're like terms, and we have 7 rad 3. Jumping down to number 10. Do we have the same radical parts? Yes, we do. We have the 5th root of 4 and the 5th root of 4. So we could just add or subtract these. So 2 5th root of 4 minus 3 5th root of 4 is going to be negative 1 5th root of 4. You can write the 1 or not write the 1 if you want to. All right. Number 12. We have a binomial with a radical times a binomial with a radical. So we are going to FOIL. So first means we're going to multiply the square root of 3p times the square root of 3p, which is going to be the square root of 9p squared. O is for outside, so square root of 3p times negative 3 is going to get us negative 3 square roots of 3p. Inside is going to get us negative 5 square roots of 3p. And that'll be under the radical. Last is going to get us plus 15. So I can simplify this and I can combine these two. That's what I can do. Square root of 9p squared is 3p. And then the two middle terms can combine to get what? Negative 8 square roots of 3p plus the 15. Every once in a while you can combine more, but on this one you can't because they're not like terms. All right, number 14, we're squaring this, so I'm going to write it out and FOIL it. So I'm going to have negative 4 square roots of 2 plus 2 times negative 4 square roots of 2 plus 2. When you get really good at these, you can just follow the pattern, but for now we're just going to FOIL. So we're going to go first. Negative 4 square roots of 2 times negative 4 square roots of 2 is going to be positive 16 square roots of 4. Outside, it's going to be this one times this one, so negative 8 square roots of 2. Inside is going to get us the same thing, so negative 8 square roots of 2. And then last is going to get us 2 times 2, which is 4. I know that the square root of 4 is 2, so 2 times 16 is 32. These two will combine to get negative 16 rad 2. And then we have this 4 over here. So that gets those first and last term combined to get 36 minus the 16 rad 2. All right, number 16. Can't have a radical in the denominator, so we need to multiply by what's called the conjugate. So the conjugate of the denominator is 2 plus the square root of 3. And I need to multiply the numerator by that as well. So in the numerator, I just need to distribute, but in the denominator, I'm going to need to FOIL. So distributing up top in the numerator, I've got 8 times 2, which is 16, 8 times rad 3, which is 8 rad 3. Pretty easy. Now let's do the denominator. Denominator is 2 times 2, which is 4. Outside and inside are going to get us opposites of 2 rad 3 and minus 2 rad 3. So those two are going to cancel. And then negative rad 3 times positive rad 3 is going to be minus the square root of 9, which I know is 3. So when I go to simplify, the numerator is already good, 16 plus 8 rad 3. The denominator is 4 minus 3, which is 1. And that's it. So we don't even have to write that denominator. We can just write 16 plus 8 rad 3.